Welcome to another Stories Before Bed, where we question and scare each other with strange tales from around the world. We're talking about legends, folk tales, myths, creepy, weird phenomena. I'm Darren.
I'm Michael.
And today's story, we have the Wendigo.
Yes.
Yeah,
Wendigo.
Wendigo. And the rough meaning actually of Wendigo is the evil spirit that devours mankind.
Ooh.
Yeah. So this is a rather complex story where there's different. We have to do a pretty much a good breakdown on this. So we'll just jump right into this.
Yeah.
The spirit or legend of Wendigo pops up mainly in the Algonquian Native American tribe, and also Eastern Cree, and then Nazcapi people, to name a few. These are the, back then these are the tribes that they were telling this legend for.
And sorry to jump in, but so the Algonquin tribe is actually in Minnesota.
So
yeah.
And
so
where are you from?
Where I'm from.
Okay.
So when I was doing all this research, it was like giving all these spots in Minnesota. Yeah.
That's okay, cool. So sounds like you have a close connection with this. Okay, got it. When the Wendigo is created, whenever a human resorts to cannibalism to survive. So throughout past history, this applies to Native Americans and other settlers, because when they become stranded in the snow, in the winter cold, and in the kind of like North Woods, they would often go days without food, and then in order to survive, then you have that urge to eat your fellow humankind.
Yeah.
And so basically that's how this sort of myth and creature created based on those circumstances. It was said that the very first Wendigo is said to have been a warrior of a tribe, and then he made a deal with the devil because he wanted to protect his tribe from like dangerous threats and also other tribes that could attack them. So he made a deal with the devil, and he not only gave up his soul, but he also was transformed into a beast-like creature called the Wendigo. What's sad about that is, like, once the peace has restored in the tribe and everything was good, like, he had done what he needed to do to protect the tribe.
Yeah.
Then all the other members were like, okay, no, we have no more use for you here. So they basically forced him out of the tribe, and then he lived like somewhere out alone, like as an outcast.
And again, it's similar like with Bloody Mary, where she was the witch and kind of pushed out into the it's always seeming to be these outcasts that end up being
kind of like crazy. Well, but this was different because he actually, at least he was like part of the tribal warriors as a person. Just trying to protect his fellow tribe members, right? And he thought that's what he had to do, because maybe himself is not powerful enough to protect them. So like, okay, if I become, well, of course, I'm pretty sure he didn't think that he was going to become a beast. He thought he was just going to gain like, magic powers, superhuman powers, right? And for his soul.
Yeah.
But of course, it didn't, kind of turn.
He
didn't go according to plan. Yes.
Oh, and then you're gonna be ostracized.
Yeah. But he did protect his fellow members, so he. This creature has glowing eyes, long yellow fangs, sharp claws, and like overly long tongue. And it also is said to have several kind of abilities and skills, which is they can like hide in stealth, and they could act like a hunter where they know every inch of the territory. very good at finding their path, and also they're able to control the weather through dark magic. Was another ability that this legend have often said. And some even said that they were as tall as 15 foot tall.
Wow.
Yeah.
And this is always like, I'm always like, whenever I hear this about like different creatures like Bigfoot or whatever, they always insult them by saying like, oh, it smelled putrid wherever they were.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, man, if I was the Wendigo, I'd be like, you jerks.
Yeah. I'm more than just that.
Yeah. Do you think I get to shower a lot?
Yeah. So there was this other theory, like this is like in psychiatry, where talking about this disorder called known as Wendigo psychosis, like what you mentioned.
Yes.
And so this disorder is supposedly characterized by symptoms of intense craving for human flesh and fear of becoming a cannibal, right? And
so my question is, how do you crave something that you haven't eaten before? You know what I mean? Like, I get it if you've done it once and then you're like, boy, that was really tasty. I like that. But what if you've never eaten another human being? Like, how do you develop that and know that that's what you are intensely desire?
Well, based on what we've known about these stories, it seems like that they maybe weren't really craving for human flesh, but they were almost forced into it because it's like, I have to survive. I'm in these conditions where like, if I don't eat something, I'll die. And maybe they just somehow, during that time, there weren't other animals that they could have killed to eat. So it's almost like...
But here's the thing, though, because I did read also about a guy back, like in the 1800s or something, that like they said he had plenty of resources around. It wasn't that he didn't have other choices, and that he craved human flesh.
Absolutely, and I'm glad that you brought it up, because that's what I was gonna jump into right now, because these are actually the two case studies that you detail right now that is related to the whole Wendigo psychosis. So this was reported back in the winter of 1878.
Yeah.
So it involves a trader from Alberta, and he works at the Hudson's Bay Company at the I guess it's a trading company, and so his name was Swift Runner. I mean,
and the guy that he ate is called not Swift Runner.
maybe. And his family of 6. So because he had a wife and he had actually I think he had 6 kids.
Yeah.
So a family of 7.
Yeah, that's right. Children.
Yeah, there were children involved. So they were like, that winter was just brutal, and they were starving that winter, and because I guess he had the family with him while he's like on this kind of business trip. And so that winter, like, his oldest son died in the process. And then he started to suffer from what they call Wendigo psychosis. And what he ended up doing is that he chose to kill the remaining of his members. So, his wife and all the remaining 5 kids.
Yeah.
And the really disturbing thing about that is, at the time there were actually emergency food supplies like somewhat nearby, like where he was working, like the post I was working. Like he could easily, like, there was enough time or
to get there.
Like, it wasn't like something where like, oh wow, we're 1,000 miles away, we can't get to anywhere.
Right.
It was, they were saying that the post with the emergency food supplies were only 25 miles away. Of course, he eventually confessed that that he did what he did, and he was executed. Do you believe that there is such a creature of this, or Or is it all really just human beings kind of going crazy with the hunger? Or is it actually a possession? That's been the question for many decades.
No, I think I do think it's due to, people losing their minds because you're starving, you're so depleted of resources that, you probably, you know what I mean? Like, you're probably days and days without food, so you're just sitting there and that's the only thing you're thinking of.
Yeah.
So you start thinking about, like, well, there's no animals. Hey, I'm looking at my hands. These are moving around.
Right.
I could maybe pop these in my mouth. You know,
or maybe like you're like, you know, hiking with your best friend and you look over to him and say, oh well, he looks he looks very tasty today.
Tasty, you know. I could probably feed on him for a while. That's, you know, but like, I mean, because I think, like, I could be wrong, but I think, like, in those situations where people have been stranded, they've resorted to, like, eating wood or tires, like, just whatever you can find, and like, it's like, I don't even know if that would, like, I doubt it would continue your body, you know what I mean? Like, maybe it would, I don't know, like, maybe you'll lose your mind and you think it's food, I don't know.
Whether you believe that is real or not is up to you, the viewers out there. And we gave you the case studies, we gave you a story, so we'll let you decide. And then this is what we'll left it here now. We'll leave it here, the story of Wendigo, and then we'll, if anyone are actually traveling outdoors to the forest in winter days, please be careful.
Yes, don't take the fire roads. They're probably closed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, anyways, thank you everyone for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, and we'll be back again for next story. And that one, be on a lookout. I'm not even gonna mention what the story is for the next one, so you just have to watch it.
That's right.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Good night.